What's the biggest misconception about conception? And it was fascinating, the answer that came, because it wasn't what I was thinking it was going to be. And it was actually fear. And I went, okay, show me a little bit more. And it's fear of the pain that our bodies and our minds have to go through during gestation and childbirth. Like the fear of childbirth was a little bit shocking, actually. Like I can feel the vibration of how deep that is in our society. And that alone blocks a lot of people from wanting to get pregnant or also getting pregnant. And then of course the fear of what's life going to look like when we have children, right? And so we're gonna talk about that, but one thing I want to touch on first is the fear aspect. And this comment is going to get me probably a lot of hate comments, but that's okay. Because I'm used to that by now. Because in order to change our beliefs, we have to challenge what our beliefs actually are. And what I was shown so completely and so true was, childbirth isn't painful. And I know that people are going to be rolling their eyes and they're going to be like, who the hell do you think you are? You've clearly never had a child. Well, I have had a child and I've given birth naturally at home, blah, 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 blah. But it's not actually painful. What happens in the body, and there's a reason that they're starting with this in relation to the conception process, because when you can start to understand where the misbeliefs are in our society about the actual gestation and birth process, conception is just as easeful. So it's really, really fascinating. So ultimately, childbirth, yeah. So childbirth is not based in pain, right? Because pain is actually a system that was brought into existence as a result of the medical system needing to know how to determine how they could help you and what they needed to help first. Okay. So pain isn't actually a universal creation. Okay. It doesn't actually exist, which is like, I know that that's really hard. Like, right. How many times do we hurt ourselves and we're like, that's painful? But it's understanding that there's alert systems in the body that react in different ways to tell you how to resolve that issue, what your body needs. So it's not and the problem is we've come to this place where it's a pain system, right? Like when you go into emergency and you're being triaged, there's a graph that says, is your pain here? Like a 1 to 10, what's your pain? And I remember when I broke my ankle and I said, it's a 15. And she was like, well, that's not on the chart. Can you go back to the chart, please? And I was like, okay, it's a 10. Right. And then when I triaged, my son had hurt his ankle, funnily enough, last week, and we were in emergency, and they actually have Lego faces for their levels of pain from 1 to 10. So of course, now they've made pain fun. It's fun to tell you where my pain is. And that's being trained into us in a way that encourages us to use that system in our daily lives. Okay. So back to childbirth. Childbirth isn't painful. What happens is your entire body is creating the opportunity for you to be solely focused. So your focus cannot be anywhere else. It takes away your ability to hear other things, to see other things. It's like everything else, your senses become dulled. That's not a result of pain. That's a result of the body knowing when it needs to focus